I don't normally buy clothes for myself, but when I saw this, I had to have it for obvious reasons. Hope you guys are doing great out there today. It is early in the morning and I don't typically film early because my brain don't work good in the morning. So today is actually my birthday and I turned 36. I'm gonna put this thing down before I break it. So yeah, 36 years old if you can believe it or not, but I've taken the last couple of days and kind of been reflecting a little bit about where I am in life. Apparently that's a pretty common thing to do around this age, and there's even a term for it. Midlife crisis. In that reflection, I have just kind of been thinking about how incredibly lucky I am. I started this channel just over 3 years ago. 3 years and maybe 6 weeks. And when I did that, I had zero expectations for it. I started it because I loved amps and I love talking about amps and I love sharing my experience with amps. And I have a lot of amps. I was pretty active in a lot of Facebook groups and forums at the time. I still am, though not quite as much. And people were always asking me about some of the obscure amps I owned and how they sounded and how they compared to other amps. And I had just recently learned how to record, so I'm like, well, why don't I record a couple clips? That sounds fun, right? Started throwing those clips up on YouTube. They were short. I was not in a lot of them. Probably some of you wish that it was still that way. And to my surprise, like, they got a lot of traction. A lot of people were clicking on the videos. A lot of people were leaving comments and, you know, basically saying like, thank you for doing this. I never knew that this amp sounded like this. I never knew that this amp sounded so good. I've been waiting years to hear a clip of this amplifier in this context, etc., etc. And honestly, I loved that. I'll be 100% honest, it made me feel really good because not only was I creating the videos that I kind of had always wished existed on YouTube, but they were helping people and people were appreciative of it. So yeah, those clips were just over 3 years ago. At that point in my life, I had been at a job for about 4 years that was a really well-paying job considering the fact that I don't have a college education. I had no prior experience in that background. And right around that time, the company came under new management, which really changed how I felt about the job. I went from, when I started, really liking the job, feeling really cared about, really pumped that for the first time in my life, I was actually able to save money and feel financially confident. As I've shared with you guys a couple times on the channel before, like, I grew up in a trailer park. My parents did not have money. Contrary to popular belief, I am not a trust fund kid. And there was even a brief point in my life when I dropped out of college that I was actually homeless for a while. I was sleeping on a friend's bedroom floor. Everything that I owned fit in a garbage bag and a duffel bag, and I didn't own any gear. Hell, at that point, I wasn't even really playing music. Like, I kind of had just had to stop and focus on getting my life together. So music didn't really come into the picture again for a little while. So to see that this job was changing, to see that they were putting in some new policies that were definitely not friendly to the employee was a really big bummer, because when I got hired, they basically were like, hey, we want you here for the long haul. We want people who stick around. Most of the people who worked there when I got hired had been there for like 40 years, and that at this day and age is just not really heard of anymore. So I was really excited about that, and to see it change and basically me come to the realization that, okay, this job is no longer my future at this point. Not only was that a bummer, but it scared me because I didn't really know what else was gonna be out there for me. And really around the time that things kind of started to get bad at that job, I guess at least bad for me, is when the channel really kind of started to take off. Like, I gained somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 subscribers in the first 2 months that I was doing it, which really is kind of unheard of. Like that, yeah, it was just way faster. Everything happened way faster with the channel than I ever thought that it would. I never thought that people were gonna wanna tune in to watch me because honestly, in life, I've always kind of felt like an uninteresting person. Like, if there's a group of people around, I am generally not the center of attention. And a lot of the times, in fact, I kind of fade into the background a little bit and observe. So I just never felt like I had like a charismatic personality or a personality that anybody would connect with on screen. But I was quickly learning, thanks to the comments of the people who were viewing the channel at the time, that people did enjoy watching me. They felt like I was a good entertainer. They felt like I was able to explain things in a way that they understood and wasn't super boring. I absolutely have the tendency to talk too much or to over-explain things, which is something I'll probably be working on for the rest of my life, but it seemed like for the most part, people were able to follow along with what I was saying, get the information that they need out of it, and then also get the sound clips that they needed out of my videos, and they just continuously came back every time I would post a new video. So here we are, 3 years later, 36,000 and change subscribers later. I'm pretty sure I'm approaching somewhere around 9 million views on the channel, and I've been able to do this full time for 2.5 years, which is, again, not the case for most people. In fact, most people who are where I'm at right now wouldn't even consider going full-time with the channel. As some of you may know, I actually got fired from that job that I was talking to you guys about, and that is why I ended up going full-time, but I have also mentioned that I was already well in the process of making plans to go full-time with the channel and support myself for it sometime later that year. So in getting fired, basically all that happened was I got a severance package that actually allowed me to just kind of jumpstart it without really having to feel nervous about going full-time and what that would mean for me financially. So yeah, like everything just came together really well. Everything worked out in my favor, and that is why I tell you guys I'm super lucky. Now, of course, there is an absolute ton of work that goes into being a full-time YouTuber, whether people want to consider this a career or a job or not, because people are constantly trying to tell me that this isn't a career. I got news for you. You're wrong. But yeah, there is a lot that goes into doing this thing full-time, and as you guys know, because I like to be transparent with you, like I've had my ups and downs as a creator. I have definitely made mistakes. I have definitely made missteps, but luckily I've got what I consider to be the best audience in the world. Like, you guys support me all the way, and I appreciate that so much. Like, yeah, I'll go and highlight like goofy comments and stuff like that on my Facebook profile, but that's just kind of like having a laugh at some of the ridiculous things that people say. Like, truly, when I read other YouTubers' comment sections, especially in the guitar world, like a lot of the comments are not very nice. And honestly, I tell this to people all the time, like my audience is incredible. Like, you guys are very, very kind to me in the comments most of the time. And I really do have an awesome and super supportive audience that I could not be more thankful for. Like, you guys truly are the best. And I'm just, you know, I worked really hard to cultivate a certain audience because I treat people the way that I want to be treated for the most part, and the way that I kind of tell you guys about how I feel, how I think, how I'm approaching things. I feel a lot of you guys connect with that, and my sort of like down-to-earth regular guy approach is really a big thing that connects with people a lot of the time. But I also try to be kind to people as often as I can, and many of you guys return that favor to me, and I'm super grateful for that. So while the point of this video is me reflecting on my journey over the past few years, how radically my life has changed and for the better, I have a dream job. You'll never hear me say that it's not a dream job, because it is. Even though it is still a job, there is still work. There are still aspects of it that I don't like. I am infinitely happier doing this than 99% of the other things that I could be doing out there in the world. And that is not lost on me whatsoever. But maybe one of you guys needs to hear my story and needs to hear this message. If you guys are thinking about doing something, whether it be a YouTube channel, whether it be opening a recording studio, whether it being working on your art and monetizing your art and trying to go full-time with that in some way, shape, or form, if there is something in your life that you are passionate about and that you want to pursue further than just a hobby that is not shared with anybody else, please, please, do it. It's so hard to take that first step and to get started. It's incredibly hard to put yourself out there. It's a really vulnerable position to put yourself out there, especially if you're a YouTuber or a content creator or even just a musician. If you're writing and recording your own music and putting it up, like, you're bearing your soul to the world, in my personal opinion, when you put yourself on camera or when you record your stuff and you put it out into the public and wait for people's reaction to something that you worked really hard on. And a lot of the times it won't be appreciated. Like, it won't for most people, it won't work out the way that it did for me. Like, I know that I am the exception to the rule for the most part. I really came into an already crowded genre of YouTube. A lot of people were saying that like no real like new YouTube channels for Guitar Gear, especially in the metal space, are gonna break through at this point, because the Olas, the Keith Marrows, the Fluffs, like those guys have done it already and they did it well, and a lot of people don't feel like they need somebody else to come in and to try and do it again. But one thing that I am reiterating that I told you earlier in this video is a lot of being a successful YouTube channel or a successful YouTuber is how people connect with you on a personal level. So even though I personally feel like I do not have talent, I do not have the professional abilities when it comes to videography and recording, I personally felt that I did not have the personality to be a popular YouTuber, social media person, influencer, whatever you want to call it. Like, I really didn't think that I had any of what it took to be a professional or a full-time YouTuber or a successful YouTuber in any sense of the word. But I was wrong. Like, I am successful. I've really kind of opened my mind to that recently, that like, yeah, I am successful. And success will look different for everybody, but I have kind of become a household name when it comes to guitar reviews, especially in the metal world, like amps for sure. I read comments all the time in Facebook groups where people were like, I'm not gonna buy it until I hear Ola or Kyle Bull demo it. So to be put alongside somebody like Ola, somebody who I've watched for years and years, and somebody who I've looked up to, not only as a content creator, but just as, you know, an awesome musician and an awesome human being, that is 100% my definition of success. So yeah, I realize that that's not going to be the case for everybody, but you don't know if you don't try. And I wanted to try for years and I just never did. I never started. I was too afraid to start. I made so many excuses as to why I couldn't start. You know, I don't have the time. I don't have the talent. I have lopsided nostrils. You name it, whatever it is, whatever my shortcomings or perceived shortcomings were, they all kept me from starting a YouTube channel until finally I just started it and said, you know what? Here we go. I'm gonna try this. Hopefully somebody gets something out of it. And now, here I am. 36 years old, wearing an incredibly immature t-shirt, talking to you guys early on a Wednesday morning, and basically getting to do whatever I want for the rest of the day because I have made that path for myself. So use me as your example. Like, if you want to do something, if you want to even just find a new career path, it doesn't even have to be something like this. If there's something you want to do in life, just do your best to at least make that first effort. A lot of people are gonna kick themselves for not trying, and I think that I am the perfect example of somebody who I never thought that I had what it took. I was constantly beating myself up. I am not anything special as far as a person when it comes to talent or anything else, and yet I took that leap forward and I put myself out there, and because I did it, I now have a life that most people dream of. And honestly, I want the same for you. Like, I want everybody to be happy. I want people to do what makes them happy and feel fulfilled in life, because honestly, there's no greater feeling than that. And a lot of people never get to experience that. And you know, if it takes me sitting here in front of a camera rambling on and on to be the kick in the butt that you need in order to get started, I'm more than happy to be that person to tell you to do it, to be your example in order to get you started. So yeah, that's my message. You want to do something? Get out there and do it. It's not going to present itself to you. It's not going to fall into your lap most cases. You got to try to set that fear aside and take that first step into whatever it is that you want to do, because without taking that initial step, without getting started, without putting yourself out there for the first time, it's just not going to happen. And I want it to happen for you. So yeah, that's my message. I am going to, what am I gonna do for the rest of the day? I think I got a guitar video that I'm gonna film, a guitar review video, and then after that, I have a conversation with somebody to possibly become the new editor for the channel, which will allow me to kind of do more of the things that I actually wanna do and not spend most of my time editing videos. And luckily, my channel is successful enough at this point that I can actually afford to do that. So yeah, this is 36. I'll check in again in another few years on my birthday, see where we're at, see how the channel has evolved, and ultimately hear from you guys to see how many of you took my advice and got started and how many of you it worked out for, because I'm assuming that at least one person, this may be the message that they need to hear in order to get things started, and it's gonna change their lives. At least I hope. So yeah, thank you guys for the support. Thank you so much for watching. Kyle here again. Get out there and kick some ass, and we'll see you next time.